Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. People coming in. How are we doing tonight? Hi, Sino. Hi, Lunarlet. No worries. Hello, Spicy. Nice to see you popping in here. How are we doing tonight? I am doing great. Hi, Skitty. I'm doing lovely. I went on a fantastic run and showered. Now I'm all ready to do a little story time, do a little reading. So yeah, we are at the point now that I am not going to recap. what we'll do instead of a recap is I will we'll talk about like the last like where we left off. So at the end of chapter 4, I'm having a very lovely night. Thank you for asking. At the end of chapter 4, Solux and thank you, Gay Jesus, for the hydrate. Solux and Dave, or Carcat and the crew, everybody, went to a demon party that Solux was hosting, and then everything went to shit, and they had to teleport out there. And they teleported to Dave and Rose's house, not their apartment, but their house. And now they are staking it out there, trying to hide from Rose and Dave's mom, who, for some reason, Dave and Rose are insistent that they don't want them to, or don't want her to know that they're there. And so they brought in the mattress, and then they all slept and crashed on there. And also we got the little reveal that Dave and Solux, we confirmed that Dave and Solux are indeed Moirails, which is a specific type of demon relationship, very reliant on like trust and having each other's back, being someone's other half, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's where we left off. Oh, fantastic, Willow! And I didn't do a full recap, thankfully. We're at the point where I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna talk about like the last like couple paragraphs of the last chapter because I can't recap the full thing anymore. So if I had the time, and I mean I do have the time, if I wanted to, I could be like writing like little summaries, you know what I mean, like little chapter summaries, but there's so much information and I'm not very smart, so I'm not gonna do that. So we'll wait another like, I don't know, 2 minutes, and then we'll get started. We're only doing 1 chapter tonight. I cannot do 2 chapters again. It was really fun to do it last night, but I think I have to stick to 1 chapter because my voice was really feeling it by the end of there. Because hey, speaking pretty much straight for 3 hours is rough. Is rough, you would think. You know, you wouldn't think it, but then you're like, whoa, wait a minute, it's actually hard to do. 3 hours straight. Oh, Homestuck fanfic, it's been so long. Yeah. I'm having a great time with it. So hello, Arch. Hello. I see you're popping in. But yeah, we'll wait another few minutes and we'll get started. Ugh. You need to have a lot of water strength? I do. I have my water bottle with me. Arch, how close are you to the end of YWDMP? How close are you to getting caught up? Because I don't think you're fully caught up yet, right? You were on chapter 50 last time I chatted with you. I think you said that at least. No, not yet. You're getting close, though. I don't actually know how many chapters are in YWDMP right now. Because I think it's, what, 61? 62? Chapter index. 61, yeah. Okay, so you got like, what, 8 chapters left? You'll get there soon. Yeah, and then you're suffering. Oh, plus that, you have been reading the set list, right, Arch? I think you told me you've been reading set list alongside it. Or at least you should be. If you haven't, then that's, like, more material that you can read. Do you... Have you not been reading the set list? Uh-oh, oh my god, you're like me. Oh my god, you're like me. Yeah, you need to go back and read the set list. When's the first chapter of the set list start? That's for what, 37? Yeah, so for 37, 41, fuck. I don't know, the chapter 3 doesn't tell you when. 47, you have at least, what, 5 6. Yeah, you have 7. You have 7 setlist chapters you need to read. You have 7 setlist chapters you need to read. So you better get the fuck on that, because that's important. Listen, I didn't read the setlist chapters until I fully caught up, because I didn't know they existed. So you're fine. You'll be fine. But those are important. Hi, Lifty, no worries. We haven't gotten started yet. We've just been hanging out, waiting. I still haven't read them. Are you caught up with the fic? How have you not read them at this point? Oh my god. They're so important, though. Oh my goodness. It's, like, very vital. It's, like, insanely vital information. Especially right now. Once I send a few school emails, I'll probably be putting this on the background while I bind. Yeah, I am caught up. Oh my goodness. You gotta read the set list. It gives so much context. Okay, okay. I think we're gonna get started now, because it is 9:10. I don't want to wait too long before we hop in. I just take things at face value, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That is one way to do it. Listen, okay, to be fair, I'm very similar in where things go over my head a lot, and I'm not a very smart guy. I have a very low reading comprehension. So things have been happening in the more recent chapters, and I'm just like nodding my head. Yep, that makes sense. Sure. Yep. Yep. Smile. This will get explained at some point, and it always does, but it's kind of funny. If things don't make sense, I just wait to see till it does. Oh man. All right, let's get started. Okay, just listen to chapter 4. I listened to it very fast though. Luna, to be fair, instead of reading it, you could have just popped it up on a tab and and read it, and that probably would have been faster than listening to it. But I get you. You want to hear my beautiful narrative voice. Okay, I'm gonna go read the set list. I fucking guess because I'm saving AU for later. Yes, go do that. And also, it would be bad for you to hop in right now in AU because we're a little bit in. All right. Okay, here we go. Chapter 5. See you later, Arch. Bye-bye. All right, chapter 5. Don't fear the Reaper. Dave wakes... excuse me, hold on. Oh my goodness. I need to turn my music down a little bit from on my side. I think it's fine with you guys. Dave wakes you up in the morning, and your group goes through the motions of all of you using the bathroom and changing back into your sweat-stiff clothes from last night. When you come back into Dave's room, the extra mattress is gone, and Solix is clearing a big space on the floor. Get over here, Solix tells you. Are you allergic to the word please? You sigh, but go anyway. I've asked him that before, Rose nods. Will you both please shut your big mouths already so I can focus? Solix says snippily. See, that's the word, but not the meaning there. Your point remains valid. Either way, you slot yourself into the little group beside Rose's side, and Solix repeats the process of moving you like he did in the club. You go from Dave's room in the house to Dave's dorm in Salem. You want to stick around and stay with your friends, but you do have work, and you'd really like to go there and clean clothes. With your clothes changed and your teeth brushed, you leave your dorm and head to the library for work. When you let yourself into the office, you find a note from Kanaya on the desk. It simply reads, Hello, Carcat. I am currently in the basement dealing with a restricted book loan. Please go on as normal. Alright then. You busy yourself with checking books in, issuing a few fines, and then shortly after dealing with a few panicked first-year students who were freaked out at the sudden mark on their skin. You have the terms and conditions of the library membership memorized by now, so you're fine to deal with them on your own. Funnily enough, they always pay up. You set the books back to be returned on the little trolleys for each floor and start off on your own rounds to check the book return drops. You shush a few students, getting a little too obnoxious as you collect your books and return once more to the office to check them in. When you pick up a Latin primer book, you frown, sensing something odd. Flipping the front cover of the book open, you can see that someone has damaged the spell that tells if the book is overdue, and then blotted out all the issue dates. You look the thing up manually and see that it's not even overdue. Someone just seemingly objects to the library fine system. This pretty clearly falls under the topic of book vandalism to you, so you print out the receipt of the book return, flip away the notice on the door, and go to find Miss Paint. Your first place to look for her turns out to be just where she is, but when you step into the area where you had the interview, you find that she is not alone. Miss Paint is leaning against a wall, looking slightly younger and brighter than before. She's wearing a shy smile as she looks at you. She looks at you don't know what. You're going to have to say that you're looking at a man. He's about your height, humanoid, wearing a slick black suit and a black shirt, tie, and fedora. He doesn't have hair, and his skin isn't so much skin as it seems to be shiny, black and stiff like beetle wings. His one visible eye not covered by an eye patch is white, and it widens as you open the door. "Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Paint. I didn't know you were with someone," you say in surprise. "It's okay," she assures you. "Carcat, what are you doing here?" The man, and yes, you do think he is now with how gruff the voice is. It sounds like he's been gargling cigarettes and gravel. He just said your name." "How do you know my name?" you ask him. Behind you, the door bangs shut. Miss Paint is looking at the man in confusion, and he seems just as confused that you asked him that. "What kind of question is that?" he says with a sneer that shows off very pointed white teeth. "A perfectly reasonable one. Do you know me? I don't remember you if you do. I don't remember anything before the event," you say in a rush and step closer to him. "You don't." Whatever the man says, or whatever the man was going to say, is cut off as he inhales sharply. "Slick, be nice to him. He's a student. He works for me. No violence," Miss Paint warns him. "Oh, no. This is above my pay grade. Come here. Come here, you. I can smell it on you." Slick snarls and stalks closer to you. He leans in and sniffs at you. You tense up, but don't back down. "Please, anything you can tell me would be amazing," you say persistently. What are you fucking around with demons for? I can smell one on you, and I think I know which one. I know that scent. I know." Slick trails off and shakes his head. "It's nothing personal, but I'm more scared of her than I am of anyone else, and she's looking, you see." Slick sighs. He holds out a hand, and a black doorway forms in the air with his hand on the doorknob. "Stop right there. You tell me what's going on right now," Miss Paint orders him. "I can't. It's work business," Slick says regretfully. "What work? You haven't worked in years. You said you don't do anything anymore," Miss Paint says sharply, her hands on her hips. "That doesn't mean I don't have a boss, and she's not someone you fuck around with. I really hope you ain't caught up in this, Carcat," Slick says, and steps through the door before Miss Paint can stop him. You stare at the spot in space where the door and the man had been, and then look at your boss, who is practically vibrating with anger. She sucks in a deep breath and seems to calm herself a little. Enough, at least, to be polite. "Who is that?" you ask nervously. "Nervous for what? Your job or your life?" "Spade Slick, Jack Noir. He has plenty of titles and names, one being my dearest and most frustrating husband," Miss Paint grumbles and folds her arms tightly. "What was he, and how does he know my name?" you ask. "I don't know how he knows your name. My guess would be that he knew you before you lost your memories, though I dread to think how. He's a psychopomp, emphasis on the psycho at times. Since the event, he's been out of work, but perhaps you are someone more important than you realize," Miss Paint says, and gives you a sympathetic expression that makes you think it might be better for your well-being if you weren't important at all. "I don't like the sound of that," you admit, squeezing the library book that you brought with you tight to your chest. "Well, yes. What do you have there, dear? I assume you came looking for me for a reason," Miss Paint says. Excuse me. Numbly, you hold out the book to her and explain the problem. Miss Paint's face goes hard, and she tells you that you did the right thing to bring this to her attention, and sends you back to your office. It all sort of passes you by as you try to remember what a psychopomp even is, and just how afraid you should be that he smelt demons on you. After the club last night, you wouldn't be surprised if there was some trace of them on you, especially as one died right there. On top of that, you slept next to Solux all night and then didn't shower. If this Slick guy is sensitive to demons, then of course you'd ping his radar. You hurry back to the glass office, and when you get there, you find Kanaya sorting books on the trolley. "Oh, hello, Carcat. Did you get my note?" Kanaya asks, looking up at you from where she's crouched with a book in hand. "Yeah, I did. Can you hold the fort for a second? I need to look for something," you say in a rush. Kanaya nods, so you hurry to the shared office computer and decide that Google is probably the best place to start. You can look through the library catalog when you know what you're searching for. You type in psychopomp and search. Psychopomps, from the Greek word, I can't read that, psychopompus, literally meaning the guide of souls, are creatures, spirits, angels, or deities in many religions whose responsibility is to escort newly deceased souls from Earth to the afterlife. Their role is not to judge the deceased, but simply to guide them. Appearing frequently on funerary art, psychopomps have been depicted at different times in different cultures as anthropomorphic entities: horses, deer, dogs, whip-poor-wills, ravens, crows, vultures, owls, sparrows, and cuckoos. When seen as birds, they are often seen in huge masses, waiting outside the home of the dying. Okay, think. This guy is some sort of entity who guides the dead to the afterlife. He knew you. You're pretty sure you're not dead, or supposed to be, because his reaction wasn't like, "Oh shit, what are you doing back here? You're dead." So, could you be one too? Psychopomp seems more like a role than a species, although the two do blur a lot with some creatures, demons for example. "What are you looking at?" Kanaya asks you as she gets up and pulls one of the book trolleys out of the line. "I ran into this guy with his paint," you start. "Oh, Mr. Noir," her gentleman caller, as she sometimes calls him, although he's not much of a gentleman, if you ask me, Kanaya tuts disapprovingly. She says he's a psychopomp, you tell her, and Kanaya nods, clearly not new information to her. "He knew my name. He seemed surprised to see me and went super weird on me, saying that he could smell demons, and then just rushed off into the ether," you say, throwing your hands into the air out of sheer frustration for how unrelentingly weird your life has become. "Don't you spend time around a demon, though? That Solux boy you complain about," Kanaya points out. "Yeah, him and a whole club of demons last night. His Xenobio teaching session was just introducing us to a bunch of demons at a party, and to be fair, actually answering a lot of questions about them," you tell her. You leave out the murder. The thing is that part of you feels like Solix didn't really want to do it. He didn't seem happy. He warned the guy off. Either way, you don't want to mention it. Given that demons have a role in at least one afterlife, it seems strange that a psychopomp of any stripe would have any problems with demons specifically. They just deliver people, make sure they don't go where they're not supposed to. As far as I know, they don't take sides, Kanaya says with a frown. He said he had to tell his boss that he was afraid of upsetting her if he didn't, you add. Unless that's a more important psychopomp, I can't see who his boss would be. It's not as if any deities are around and talking to people anymore. Though I suppose if anyone, they would talk to psychopomps, or else we'd be up to our eyes and ghosts lingering around. Just on the sheer business level, I imagine they'd need to keep going, Kanaya says. You hadn't thought about that much. How much spiritual infrastructure must be around the world. It's not something you've ever wondered about, much because everyone knows that there are deities, but you also know that the things they tell you about how things work are unreliable. For a start, they all contradict each other, and it's not clear if they're all running on their own systems or if some are just lying. It's so much of a mess to work out that people just believe what they believe and leave the serious magic investigation to those who are religiously ordained or actually researching this stuff like witches in the institution like yours. She said he hadn't seen him. She said he hadn't worked since the event, though, you tell her. Well, that's concerning, Kanaya states mildly, as if it's not a huge deal that the dead are just lingering somewhere without psychopomps to take them where they need, or where they should be, wherever that is. I think I need to research this more, you say with a sigh and lean back in your chair. I'm here all night because I have a project work, so as long as you check things in as you're researching, I don't mind, Kanaya shrugs. She's the best. Your research turns very little of value. No one's ever seen Spade Slick or a Jack Noir, and you can't work out what type of psychopomp he might be, or what type of psychopomp he is, or work out what kind of beef any psychopomp might have with a demon. He's not here for you to ask him, but there is someone you could ask. I'm going to be upfront and admit that I have an ulterior motive here. My motives are as suspect as a man covered in blood standing by a dead body being confronted by police detectives. You are literally the most intense person I know, man. But please, do tell me about your super sketchy motives. You have my attention. Why can't I insert GIFs into this stupid chat program? I already know the one you mean, but that's not the point. Do you know what a psychopomp is? Yeah, it was in one of the books, or one of Mom's books at one point, I think. Picked it up somewhere anyway. Hermes was the one chaperoning dead dudes into the afterlife with his flying kicks and all. Sure. There are others, of course. Yeah. I met one today at the library. He's seemingly married to my boss, and he knew me, knew my name. He also said I smelled like demons, and had to go talk to his boss about that. Oh shit. You're thinking because of Solux or the club? Yeah, and I don't know if I should be really concerned here or not, so I figured Solix would be the right person to ask, but I don't have his Trollian, and he's temperamental little fuck sometimes. He's not actually been here since you left. I figured he's off doing damage control on last night. But I could message him and ask him to meet us all when you get off of work and see if he can give you some answers. That'd be great. Where do you want to meet? How about that Mexican place? It's at the bottom of that really steep hill. Street names might help. I'll Google Maps you it. Dude, chill. See you there at 5. Okay, see you there then. If you... okay, see you there then if you send me directions. Dave does indeed send you directions, and a street view picture of the place too. With that sorted, you resolve to be as helpful and productive as possible at work until you have to leave, just to make up for slacking before. You rush around and reshelve all you can, you help students, you check books in and out with vigor. By the end of your shift, you almost don't feel like walking all the way to the Mexican place that Dave picked out. You want answers more than you want a nap though, so you follow directions and go there. Carcat! June yells out of nowhere and jumps on your back as you're innocently on the way there. When Jade jumps on you as well, the three of you stumble over, and if that didn't attract the attention of everyone walking by, then your unreasonably loud shriek of alarm sure did. Ah, I forget how loud you are, Jade complains, rubbing her ears. Maybe don't jump me when I'm minding my own business then, you snap at her as June pulls you up on your feet again. Does that mean I can jump on you when I think you're not minding your own business then? Jade asks slyly. No, you snap. June snorts with laughter and throws an arm around you and Jade each. And the three of you walk on to the Mexican place that is, as Dave described, at the bottom of a giant hill. There's outdoor seating, and Dave and Rose are already sat on chairs at the table with an effectively useless sun umbrella over it, given the time of year. There's at least patio heating about, so it's not that cool. Just like Dave, who is drumming irritatingly on all the condiments and the tabletop with his cutlery. No Solux? Jade asks and pulls a chair out. I'll message him again, Dave says and pulls his phone out. He doesn't have to tap away for long before a tired and harassed-looking Solux shows up and drops into a seat with a deep sigh. Long day? Dave asks sympathetically. Moirails, your mind reminds you. You watch the gentle way that Dave pats Solux's shoulder, and the way that Solux's smaller eyes open to look at him, despite the rest of his face being buried in his arms. It's sweet and kinda hurts. I hate the consequences of my actions, Solux says unhappily. Don't we all? Rose nods. Was that Matuna guy really upset with you? Jade asks curiously. Mostly, he's just really upset. He doesn't hate me, but I should stay away from him for a while unless I desperately need him for something, which doesn't really happen, Solux answers. You hesitate and Solux looks up at you. Would you say that nothing I could say would make your day worse? Solux groans and thunks his head on the table. No, I'm not that stupid, but go on, he grumbles. Do you know Jack Noir, or Spade Slick, a psychopomp? You ask. Solux glows from slumped over on the table to bolt upright in a heartbeat, staring at you wide-eyed in shock. How do you know that name? He asks quickly. He's married to my boss. I ran into him today, and he knew my name, you tell him. Well, okay. On the topic of names, I need to know. You didn't mention mine, did you? Because if you didn't, you absolutely cannot tell him you know me, Solux insists urgently. I didn't do that, but after he said my name, he got right up in my face and sniffed me. Asked why I was hanging out with demons. I got the impression that he knew who he could smell. So, you grimace. You don't like the idea that someone can smell Solux on you. That's a little creepy. Solux doesn't seem reassured at all. In fact, he looks horrified. He sucks in a deep breath and turns to Dave. Hey, so remember when I told you ages ago that I was conditionally immortal? Solux starts. Even if you die, you come right back. Yeah, I don't like this, but go on. Dave nods. Yeah, and how I told you that I'd come back on my own, but if you ever needed me to come back really quickly, you summoning me would do it. Remember, if I die anytime soon, don't do that. I'll come back, but just don't summon me back, or it'll happen again. Solux tells Dave. Wait, are you trying to say you think you're going to die soon? Dave demands, and Solux nods. Please tell me it's not because of me, you whisper in horror. Only sort of. I've been avoiding my girlfriend for a while because she's probably really angry at me and I blacklisted her colleagues from the party last night, and the guy you just saw is her employee. So she almost certainly knows now roughly where I am, and it probably won't take her long to find me. Even if you had run into him, I was pushing my luck with the party. It was stupid. Matuna was right. Solux says miserably and rests his head on the table. Are you telling me that you have a girlfriend and that you've never told us about, and we've never seen, and she's going to kill you? Rose asks, Solix in shock. I've been avoiding her for years, Solix says and waves his hand like it's no big deal. Years? Dave chokes out. She's immortal, I near am. A few years isn't much to her, Solix says and sits back in his chair. But she's trying to kill you? That doesn't sound like a good relationship, Jade says, and what should be the world's least controversial statement, though seemingly not if Solix's expression is anything to go by. It's complicated, plus there's not much try in it. She's going to, it's what she does, Solix says with one shouldered shrug. No, you can't date someone who's going to kill you. Who is she? I'll protect you, Dave insists, and Solix's expression goes bittersweet. Dave, it'll be fine, trust me. Solix insists. No, it won't. Tell me who she is, Dave says, doubling down on what he asked already. She's Death, Solix says with very clear reluctance. It goes quiet around your table. You're all looking at Solix, and he doesn't seem fantastically keen to be having this conversation. When you say death, what do you mean? Rose asks. The embodiment, an incarnation of the physical force of the nature that is death. Death, capital D death, not a psychopomp or anyone who guides people through their death, but death, the actual embodiment of dying. She's been in existence ever since there was another living thing around to die. That's death. Her name's Aradia, that's what I call her. So when I say she's going to kill me, I mean it. She's going to get my soul out, so I have nowhere to hide, and she's probably going to be really pissed at me, Solix answers. Is there anything we can do? You ask. This is all your fault. You could have showered before work or denied being around demons or something, but now Solix is going to die for however short of a time, and it's your fault. No, and I shouldn't even be around the rest of you, Solix says and stands up from the table. Distantly up the road, you hear a yell, but you're too focused on Solix and how your whole group is trying to convince him to accept some other outcome that isn't dying. Solix steps behind you and off of the curb. You turn to try to talk him out of this, and gasp in shock when the drain cover that he stood on suddenly gives way and plunges his leg into it up to his knee. Ugh, Solix hisses and tries to pull his leg out. My truck! My truck! A voice up the road reaches you. You turn and see a huge truck barreling down the road towards you, without a driver in it. Right towards Solix. Ah, shit, he sighs. You leap to your feet and try to jump towards him, to pull him free and save him or something. You can't, though. There's a hand tightly holding onto the back of your sweater, so you're forced to stand and watch as this truck slams into Solix and crashes into a wall, leaving a trail of fire behind in its wake. Solix is just gone. There's fire splattered about, burning brightly in a pattern that you think matches up to where you'd expect Solix, or at least parts of him to be. But there's no leftover stuff like there was with Kurlaz. No note or item or anything. Solix did say he'd come back, right? So maybe this is fine. It clearly isn't fine, though. Dave looks like he's about to throw up, and Rose is holding on to him tightly to stop him from running over there. He's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. He said so, Jin repeats quietly behind you. That's her hand in your sweater. You feel lightheaded, almost unsteady, like you haven't got your sea legs on a boat or something. You wouldn't know. You've never been on a boat, you don't think. You feel as if you might faint, your vision seeming staticky and wrong. You watch as a fly drops clean out the air onto the pavement before you, a glowing trail in the air staying in place. Across the road, grass wilts around a tree, and it starts to rain dead, brown, withered leaves. A pigeon falls off a roof nearby and lands on its side on the floor. It's dead. Everything is dying. All those people, you know what was supposed to. You're not hearing it. You're perceiving it somehow, through some other sense. I'm sorry, Aradia. I didn't know what was going to happen, but... As if he wouldn't tell you. You've ruined everything. A flare of power, a curled horn, and black hair, furious eyes. How are you not seeing this? That's not what... no, wait. No, we're over. Don't you dare. Go. Whatever that was suddenly stops, and the oppressive feeling of death, the end of all things, fades. The fire dies down, and molten golden light on the floor reforms together. With a flash of light, Solix is sat there on the road, in the same odd outfit that he had on when he was in his giant form in the club. He scrambles to his feet. Wait, please, Solix shouts into nothing, but you know she's gone. Solix looks around, all his eyes wide open and distraught. He stumbles as Dave slams into him, wrapping him in a hug. His hands cling to Solux's strange clothing, and he presses his face into Solux's neck. Behind you, people are coming out of the Mexican place that you hadn't even ordered at yet to see what the hell happened. People are gawking at the crashed truck, and the guy hugging it out with the demon in the middle of the road. "Are you okay? Don't do that again. What happened?" Dave demands, pulling back from Solux to stare at him. She broke up with me," Solux says quietly. "Good! She killed you!" Dave shouts. You catch the flash of pain that goes across Solux's face before he teleports away. "Solux!" Dave calls, but of course he's not there. "I don't think good is what you're meant to say when someone's girlfriend breaks up with him. Even if she did just temporarily kill him," June says softly from behind you. "Oh my god, I don't know what happened. It was parked. The brake was on. Is everyone okay?" The man asks breathlessly as he comes to stop by you. He looks like a truck driver. "Everyone's alive and unhurt, but your truck seems less so," Rose answers for you all. Dave seems to be holding his tongue now that you have an audience, but he's typing on his phone at lightning speed. The truck driver mutters a quiet prayer as he moves past to his wrecked truck. It seems that no one aside from Solux and a few birds were physically harmed. You might almost call that miraculous, but you feel bad for the birds, and Solux doesn't exactly look okay. Without a word, Dave walks off back towards the dorm building, leaving the rest of you behind. Needless to say, the Mexican place isn't open for new business, and the mood has been somewhat spoiled by Solux's death. You end up going home via the cafeteria and just picking up food from there. You don't know what you're supposed to do. "Has this ever happened before?" you ask Rose quietly when you both get into your dorm room. "Not as far as I know. I did know about his strange, almost immortality, though I didn't know if it was true," Rose says, and drops her reusable drink cup in the sink to be washed. She finished her drink on the way back from the cafeteria. "I guess he could have died without Dave knowing if he wasn't there," you suggest. Excuse me. "I doubt it. If he was avoiding death herself, I suppose, then dying would have briefly would have attracted her attention. Moreover, my mother's house is highly warded to keep plenty of things away, and Solux took us there last night, fleeing the remains of a dead demon. It's not unreasonable to think he was running from her to avoid detection. If he was willing to do that, I doubt he's been recklessly dying whenever Dave has or happens to have not been watching him," Rose deduces. "He was dating the concept of death. That's something," you say after a moment. "What kind of relationship was that? He's got a strange demon one with Dave. Well, that's not fair. You'd actually really like to have someone like that, someone like you that way, but it's still not a typical human relationship. He mentioned there were others, but in a very Solux way, he didn't elaborate on what they were." "I feel like this is my fault. I'm the one who tipped that guy off about him," you admit quietly. "I don't think that's the case, or at least, I don't think it's your fault. Solux could have easily not taken you to a demon bar and spent all night right by you. Besides, from what you said, he was married to your boss, so you'd have run into him eventually anyway. It was simply poor timing. I do wonder what Solux did to so thoroughly upset the concept of death," Rose says. Rose used to be a seer. She used to get visions, to see beyond the things that everyone else sees. Should you tell her that you thought you heard part of Solux and Radia's conversation? That you could feel her presence as much as you could feel whatever was there, affecting things at the bar? You're not sure it's a smart thing to do. What if you hurt her feelings? As far as you know, you've never had any seeing abilities beyond the normal kind with your eyes, and here Rose is having lost her abilities and you can just casually develop this shit? You can't do that. "What?" Rose asks suspiciously. "What?" you say back. "You were going on some kind of face journey there," Rose informs you, waving her fingers at your face. My face didn't do that," you deny. "I have ways of making you talk," your roommate says threateningly. "Bullshit," you say. "What you gonna do, stab you?" "Well, we could talk about whatever you were thinking about just then, that you're hiding, or we could discuss the way that you've been looking at my brother lately. Perhaps get him involved in this conversation," Rose says breezily. "I sensed the thing at the nightclub before it happened, and I caught bits of Solux's conversation with the Death Girl person, even though they were somewhere else. Let's never mention the other thing ever again," you say in a rush. Rose's eyebrows raise into what you call, at most, moderate surprise. You really feel that your confession of a sixth sense and confirming potential feelings for her brother ought to elicit more of a reaction from her. "What exactly did they say?" she asks you curiously. "It was them breaking up mostly. She broke up with him, blaming him for something. I couldn't hear all of it, and I feel weird telling even that much. It's clearly pretty important to him, and at the time I felt like I was going to pass out or throw up from the sensation and just watching Solix get pasted by a truck, so I wasn't exactly taking detailed notes, you say defensively. I wonder what on earth he could have done, Rose wonders aloud. Well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to my room, you tell her and make a hasty escape. With your bedroom door shut behind you, there's no way for Rose's judgment to audibly seep in through the door. You can still feel the psychic vibes of it, though. Fuck. You can't believe she's caught on the things that you've been feeling for Dave. You hope that no one else has noticed, but you're rarely that lucky. Ugh, you just want to curl up in a shame ball and die. And now you feel guilty about thinking of dying so flippantly, as it just happened to one of your friends and you had to watch it. Poor Dave. Poor Solux. You'd find some way to contact Solux directly if you didn't think he'd mistake your sympathy for something terrible and explode on you. Making him feel worse isn't something you want to do. You settle in to read more on your book about vampires, more out of personal interest than actual research, or for snooping on Kanaya's vampirism. You have to turn your lamp on early, as it's become dark incredibly quickly. It's only when lightning flashes and makes you jump do you look outside. Torrential rain streaks your window, and trees outside are blown so hard that you almost fear that you're going to be torn up out of the ground. Where on earth did the storm come from? It was perfectly clear earlier today. You sit back on your bed as lightning flashes again. Out of paranoia, you unplug your laptop cable from the mains in case there's some sort of power surge. You don't know if that's really a thing, but you sure as shit don't want to have to buy a new laptop. You sit down and keep reading your book, checking on the storm every so often. When you wake up in the morning, the storm has passed, and the background news that Rose leaves on as you drink your coffee and wake up is discussing the freak weather change. This morning, many police stations are investigating vandalism in what is believed to have been a coordinated attack on some kind of flash mob. All across the country, there are reports of Angel of Death statues being smashed to pieces, with all of their headstones remaining intact. Police suspects teenagers organizing online to be responsible, and urge anyone with more information to be stepping forward. The reporter says. You and Rose look over at each other. You both know someone who can teleport at will, and has a lot of feelings about the incarnation of death to work out. Maybe smashing up statues is his version of cutting your ex out of your photographs. Neither of you comment, and you decide tactfully to not raise the matter with Solux. When Monday comes around, it's pretty obvious to everyone that Solix is still deeply upset at literal death breaking up with him. You're not Sherlock Holmesing this shit either. He's slumped over the table in your magical languages lab, looking utterly miserable and doing nothing productive. Dave seems concerned, but somewhat resigned to how upset Solix is. You guess this is probably what his whole weekend has been like. Do you want me to put a circle on your paper? You offer Solix as you're getting up to do the same on yours. Whatever. Solix mumbles into the table. Excuse me. You jerk the paper out from under his head and take both off to the circle machine. The thing with so many students practicing long-form written spells is that you need circles, and the closer to perfect they are, the better the spell will do. So there's just a machine that does an almost complete circle, so you can close it when you need it, after everything is written. You set the dimensions and make one for you and one for him. Here you go, you tell him, when you get back and drop the paper onto the table in front of him. The way your lab works is you're able to write out your spells and troubleshoot them before actually casting them. Thus far, you've not got the guts to actually try to cast anything, but you're determined to do it today. Solix seems to be determined to be a vacuous pile of fuck all. Come on, man, at least try to do some work, Dave urges him. Solix makes a despairing noise, but does sit up and drag a paper towards him. He flips his book open and glares at it, drumming his pen on the table. The plan is to be able to write this around your own wrist in ink, which is going to take a little contorting. Supposedly, the better you get at this, eventually you won't need a pen and you can just magic the spell onto yourself. But for now, manual is what you're stuck with. Number pad, this is code, but this is the spell. Include spell.subject equals self, spell.tether equals... You frown. You need to tether the spell to some force, but what should you pick for fire resistance? C plays well with water-based tethers, but it's not as if you have a particular faith in the ocean or any great beliefs about it. It makes sense for water-based species to do that because they appreciate the power of the ocean. You don't think you've ever seen the thing. Water-based. Are spells just coding in this AU? Yup. That's why all the magical languages are all like parodies of coding languages. Like C is like C sharp, C++. You know, Basilisk is the same thing as Python, right? It's a fun little play on words. It's a fun little play on words. Water-based. The tides are obvious, but again, it's not a concept you really gravitate to. You chew on the end of your pen and find your eyes drifting to Solix and Dave. Dave is partway through copying a symbol from a book onto his page, and Solix is sullenly writing. You feel bad for him, and though you don't condone vandalism as a healthy way of dealing with your feelings, you hope that destroying a bunch of statues of death helped him feel better. Actually, he must have got drenched when he knocked out the ones in your general area. Yeah, I think it's a very fun idea. I think it would be more canon compliant for Karkat to brick a spell. Yeah. Wait, the storm. That was loads of rain and wind. Its raw power was impressive and definitely water related. Could you use that? You look around and see a graduate student who's the TA for the lab sitting at the desk at the front of the room and walk over there. She looks up at you as you approach. About tethering the spell to something. Can you call in a specific experience? You ask her. Yes and no. In the writing of the spell you attach it to, say, the ocean or something, when you enact the spell, you have to have the intent of what you want to do in mind, but it helps focus before then on a specific memory of what you've tethered. When it was the gods, you'd say a prayer before, typically, but now it's just relating to the right force in a way that means something to you. So a memory works for that. The TA nods. Alright, thanks. You nod and return to your table. After checking your books for the exact wording for this sort of thing, you tether your spell to the power of storm and rain. Alright, checking over. The focus of the spell is yourself, it's powered by the storms, etc. Now you need what you want it to do. You've already allowed it to reference the elements, so how about this? Include spell.subject equals self, spell.tether equals raging storm and rain, void setup, spell.setup, void cast, if self on fire, self remove fire, delay 1. I don't know shit about coding, so I don't know fucking if this looks right or not. Alright. That looks about right. It won't go on endlessly, it's got a power source, and it recognizes fire, and it only applies to yourself, so you're not going to snuff out all the fire in the world. I think I worked it out, you say, and Dave looks up. He tugs your paper closer and reads, mumbling along as he does so. I don't think that's right. We're supposed to be making ourselves invulnerable to fire. That'll just turn fire off, right? Solux? Dave nudges Solux. The demon sighs and looks over, silently reading for a moment. You're an idiot, Solux says after a second or two. It stops fire from getting on me, doesn't it? You reason. Alright, Solux says, and leans over Dave. He catches your wrist in his hand, and his other one catches a light. How about you tell me when you've spotted the problem? I won't catch your hand alight, I swear. Solux moves his burning hand closer to yours. It's the same bright yellow and black flame that you saw before. It's hellfire, because of course it is. You can feel the heat of the flame, and no matter how much you try to pull back, he's not letting you. Fuck, that's hot! Cut it out! You hiss at him. There's no fire on you. Your spell wouldn't do anything for this, Solux points out. Alright, I forgot physics, you yell, and a few people around the room yelp in alarm at the noise. With a flick of his finger, Solux's flame goes away, and he lets you go. Thermodynamics is a bitch, huh? Dave says sympathetically. And so is Solux, you mutter. Play nice. I'm gonna go ask a question, Dave says and gets up from his work. He walks off, leaving you and Solux alone. Are you going to help, or are you just going to be a sad sack? You ask Solux pointedly. I did help you. What do you want me to do, hold your hand? Solux sneers at you. Not if it's on fire, you retort, and that at least gets you a flicker of a smile for a moment. You look down at your useless spell and think for a moment. A quick check tells you that Dave is still busy. So, you know how these spells can import information into it? Like the elemental library here, you ask, pointing to the beginning of your spell. Solux nods. He's now back to just looking sorry for himself. I want to do that. Just up front state some shit. That's true, okay? You stay quickly. Solux seems mildly intrigued, so you go on. How well we get on seems to vary, and that's confusing as shit, but whatever. That doesn't mean to say that I'm happy that you died yesterday, and I'm sorry that happened because it probably hurt and I don't wish that on you. I'm also sorry your girlfriend broke up with you, but since I have no way of understanding what that relationship was like, it feels a little useless for me to offer my condolences there. I also feel bad for whatever part I played in the terms of tipping her off to where you were. It probably wasn't totally my fault, but I still feel bad, you tell him quietly. You have sorry down to an art, Solix observes. Shut up. Can we just take those things as true from now on? Because I have an actual question for you, you say. Solix shrugs apathetically. In the least hostile and offensive way possible, why are you here? You already have magic, and even if you're not entirely familiar with all the languages, you're obviously magically powerful. You seem to be a pretty important demon based on what you told me, and you don't seem massively excited by all these classes at all. I don't know what you're getting out of this, or why you're here, and it's a lot of trouble to go through, so why? You ask. That's a good question, Solix says. He offers no further information. He's not going to tell you, is he? You debate using this question, but Solix could easily answer, because I wanted to, without telling you the real reason behind it. Even asking what the specific reasons behind wanting to be a student here could be answered honestly, but unhelpfully. Now you're not going to be baited into that. Fine. Thanks for the help/threat to burn my hand. I'll get back to working on this now. You know, the thing that you should be doing. You say pointedly. I already know the answer to this. I don't have to do anything else. Or I don't have anything else to do, Solix shrugs. Then why don't you go test it? You say in exasperation. Don't wanna. He sighs. You are literally the most irritating person I've ever spoken to, and I'm pretty sure that even if I got my memories back, that'd still be true, you accuse him. Solix stares at you and then slumps face down on the desk with a noise of frustration. What now? Dave asks with a sigh as he sits back down again. Don't ask me, you say, and look down at your work again. You're going to need to make a new circle. I need new paper, you mutter. Can you grab me some? I accidentally made a torture spell, Dave says and screws his paper up. Wait, how? You ask in shock. I negated burning, but forgot to take out pain, because I figured it just was included in the concept. So what that'd do is if someone's trying to burn you to death, you'd just suffer endlessly until the fire went out, without even getting to die. So that's horrifying. Solix, can you burn this one for me? It's giving me the creeps. Dave says as he hands the balled up paper off to Solix. Solix clenches the paper in one fist and his hand catches fire. When he opens it again, there's just ash and no paper. He does all this without taking his face off the table. You chew over the problem for a while, flipping through the book to see if you can find anything in C's library that can get you to that you can use to get the spell to work with you. I can't believe harm isn't in here, you grumble as you keep looking. Define harm, though, Dave points out. An experience that damages my body, you answer. Damage is a judgment, right? The body's doing all kinds of whack shit all the time. You're dropping skin cells every second like they're going out of style, but you don't consider that harm. You don't consider your insides being filled with acid doing you harm, and doesn't oxygen damage your spells or something? So, or is that just TV adverts talking shit about free radicals to sell stuff to women? I don't know. Dave rambles. There's a correct point in there, though. The magic doesn't know what you do or don't consider harmful. It's a gray area even for specialists like doctors who do arguably harmful things like cutting people open for surgeries. That's probably someone's thesis or something, isn't it? You concede. Mom always said to leave your feelings out of magic when you're asking something of it. Be neutral, Dave adds. Essentially, word things in a way that can't be maliciously interpreted. No wonder Solix is done already, you say and glare at the demon. The effect of that is wasted, though, because Solix is face down on the table. Wait, you're done? Can I see? Dave asks hopefully. Solix lifts his face from the table and turns his head ever so slightly to see Dave. You said you wanted to learn. Me handing you the answers isn't you learning. I'm going back to bed, so you won't feel tempted to ask me for the answer, Solix says and grabs his paper from the table and teleports away. I gotta look at chat real quick. I'm back. What did I miss? They were trying to raise spell in class. Wait, how long have you been for? Solix died a while. Rose was asking questions. What questions was she asking? Because she's been asking a couple. I need to drink water more often. Yeah, Solix died, saw death. And then they've been hanging out just trying to work on the spell for a little bit. And Solix is kind of crushed because Death also broke up with him because Death was Solix's girlfriend. It was about her brother. Oh, about at the beginning. Yeah, so that was way at the start. So since then, Solix and Death died. Solix died. Death is Aradia, who is Solix's girlfriend, but she also broke up with him, and now he's all sad. So yeah, that's the main, and they're working on the spell, on the fire resistant spell. Dave makes a frustrated sound, but instead of chasing after Solux or messaging him, he just goes back to work. You and Dave end up workshopping your magical script together and eventually come up with a statement that, in plain English, would read something like, "By the power of the storm and rain, until I tell fire it can do so, it may not alter any part of my body or mind." Of course, it's a lot more fiddly to write that out in actual script, but you think you both get there, even though your individual phrasings are ever so slightly different. Dave is tethering his magic to the concept of time itself, which seems ballsy to you and not what C favors as a language, but that's on him. You'll both get to test your spells in an actual lecture tomorrow, but until then you have an alchemy lab all afternoon, so you'll be in suspense for a while. To your surprise, Dave manages to drag Solux to alchemy class, but he's just sitting sadly next to June, who, to her credit, is trying to cheer him up. We could all have a movie night together to take your mind off of things. You could do pints of ice cream and sad movie things, June suggests as she weighs her ingredients. Pass, Solux says quietly, his face propped up on his chin. You're too occupied with smashing things together in a mortar and pestle to offer advice to Solux, especially as you don't think he'd appreciate it. From you, and also you have jack shit in the way of experience to offer. 1 gram of iron fillings mixed with 2 parts... Wait, what? Dave frowns. You lean over and try to see what's confusing Dave. We could play games, get some big party game going with one of your very many game consoles, June suggests. I don't want to, Solux sighs. You know, sitting around being sad isn't going to make you feel better or bring her back, June snaps at Solux. Telling me that doesn't make me not sad. Anyway, when's the last time you dated anyone? Solux retorts icily. Ooh, you're not touching that. I think that means double the amount of iron. So 1 gram of iron, 2 of chalk, I think. Or half, you say instead to Dave. Those are very different, but okay, what's the worst that could happen? Dave shrugs and measures out the right amount of chalk. Why would you say that? You groan and lift your mortar out of the pestle so Dave can dump the new stuff in. Wait, is this the pestle or the mortar? You ask, pointing out the part in your hand. Watch me not know or care. Get crushing, Carcat, Dave tells you. You avoid looking at Dave because, yeah, you crushing is not a problem. You crushing is not a problem. Instead, you just grind all these powders together as Dave sets up the Bunsen burner underneath your flask that Dave earlier filled up with filtered water. Sol, can you light me, please? Dave asks, and you lift your gaze enough to see Solux reach across the table and touch a fingertip to the edge of the burner, catching the glass of light with a touch. Solux seems to soften up a little at getting to help Dave, especially when Dave thanks him. You pour the combined powder onto a sheet of paper and fold it enough to make a rudimentary funnel. Dave puts the flame under the flask and zaps it with a laser thermometer. How fast do you think that would boil? You snort. Or how fast did you think that would boil? You snort. I'm just curious, Dave shrugs. All I'm saying is, maybe she comes around and maybe she doesn't, but how you feel about it won't change that, June reasons. It's not like I can talk to her, Solux says solemnly. Yeah, dude, no. You're not dying again just to get a chance to talk to her. You're not doing that, Dave tells him, and the stiffness in his tone makes you think that this isn't the first time this line of conversation has come up. Can we not talk about this? I know what you think about it, Solux says, narrowing his eyes at Dave. Oh yeah, my hugely controversial opinion that you're better off without a girl who literally hit you with a truck and murdered you, Dave retorts. You don't get it, Solux snaps. No, I don't, Dave agrees a little loudly. Dave and Solux glare at each other, neither backing down. You've not seen them fight before, but Solux's literal life is certainly a subject you can see being contentious. You keep seeing that truck smashing into him every so often. It just flashes in your head and makes you shudder with horror. With Dave being his Moirail, you can only imagine just how much more personal it is for the two of them. June is wide-eyed as she looks between her two friends. You see her flounder for a diversion, then flick the gas on her burner. Hey, Solux, light me? June asks. Solux flicks a flame in the direction of the burner, and because of all the gas coming out, it flares up in a bright fireball. Hey, someone's causing more fire than people want in the class, and for once it's not you and Dave. The fire has the effect of breaking the stare down between Solux and Dave. I think we're nearly there, you tell him. Dave checks the temperature again. You're nearly up boiling. Let me get the timer. Dave mutters and grabs his phone and opens the clock app and sets it down to count down the number of minutes you should keep this solution over an open flame. By the time he's done that, your water's boiling. You carefully slide the powder in and Dave starts the timer. I just want to stir it, you complain. The instructions very clearly say to not do that, but you still want to. You and Dave watch as the boiling water agitates the mixture inside it to make the whole thing incredibly murky. Like cloudy lemonade, if cloudy lemonade had iron fillings in it. Cursed lemonade. I kinda want to drink it, Dave says, practically voicing your thoughts. Yeah, but given it's meant to purify things, I'm not sure I want that in my body, you say with a grimace. For sure. Oh no, your blood is filled with toxins. Now it's fresh, clean water. And then you die immediately, Dave snorts. Clean and dead. Let's not drink this, you nod. It seems crazy as well that we're just gonna pour this on generic dirt afterwards. Like, everything else was precise substance, or like everything else was precise substances, but dirt? Really? Dave says. The timer goes off and you turn the burner off as Dave fiddles with the buttons to stop the noise. Well, they use this stuff to clean up a lot of dangerous spills, so I guess the point is that it's versatile. There's a variation of it that they use for oil spills on water, you say. I know it's not as if magic is trying to be difficult, like, it's not sentient force trying to trick us into doing the wrong thing, and it's more that it doesn't understand our concept of stuff, but all of this just feels like learning elaborate ways to trick magic into doing what we want it to do, Dave says. Yeah, and when you're trying to make something that has a purpose, like a cleaner, and you've just got to account for everything people could use it on, and all the ways that it could be misused, you can see why it's easier to just be like, fuck it, we'll just use bleach. Enjoy your non-magical Mr. Clean. But then some companies just slap magic shit onto anything, you say. Or you agree. Perhaps when you truly master something, you never use it, or some shit like that. You can feel the point Dave is trying to make slip away from him, and you find yourself laughing at it. It wasn't really funny, just endearing. Yeah, no wonder Rose called you out for the Dave thing. It's probably a really dumb to get a crush on your roommate's brother. You should just ignore those feelings and keep that welling inside of you whenever you listen to Dave ramble on, or how easy it feels, or how easy the conversation between you two feels. With how much you both talk, it feels like you could go back and forth forever, even though you're both talking total shit most of the time. Besides, you should be realistic. You don't even know if he'd be interested in you at all. You doubt that he has a problem with people being gay, or anything like that, seeing as how he was entirely fine talking about how Rose likes girls. Although, as a side note, you get the feeling that she didn't appreciate him blurting that out. All the same, the odds of him liking men aren't in your favor. And then on top of that, there's the question about even if he did, would he even like you? Wow, you've managed to talk yourself into feeling even more like shit than usual. Okay, here we have our generic dirt, and ow, that's a little too hot to pick up still. Dave winces as he pulls his hand back from the glass flask, entirely oblivious to your internal turmoil. Dave, there's... Solix starts. Shh, no, let him work it out. June shushes him. What? Ow! Dave hisses as he touches the still hot glass again, like it would have cooled down in the last 3 seconds. You look around the bench and see a tool that's clearly meant for picking up hot flasks. It's abandoned on Dave's side of the table past his elbow. Use the things, you idiot vortex, you groan and point at them. Oh, the thing, huh? What's an idiot vortex anyways, Mr. I don't know the name of things, Dave retorts as he picks them up anyway. It's like a black hole of stupid from which no intelligent thought can escape. Clearly, sitting by you has sucked out my intelligence too, you inform him, because, you know, that's how you get people to like you, Karkat. Dave sticks his tongue out at you and carefully pours your alchemical solution over the dirt that you have in the jar. You lean back as it fizzes and bubbles violently, worried about it splashing on you. When the fizzing calms down, however, you're just left with crystal clear liquid and several smooth black rocks at the bottom of the jar. So if we did it right, that's just pure water, you say after a moment. Yeah, let's test it. Dave nods and dips a pH testing strip in the liquid, and sure enough, after a moment or two, it hasn't moved. That should be water. A noise of alarm from across the table gets your attention, and you see June panicking about her flask of water, which is highlighter yellow. What did you do? Solix asks her skeptically. Everything, since your lazy butt has done nothing, June snaps at him. Well, I think we're done, so I'm gonna leave before this gets out of hand. You coming? You ask Dave as you sweep your things into your bag. It's become sort of a habit for you two to go out for coffee after class, and you like it more than you ought to admit. I would, but Dave hesitates, looking over at Solix. Right, that's fine. See you tomorrow for our C test, yeah? You say, and Dave nods in agreement. It makes sense that he wants to look after his Moira instead of hanging out with you. You don't have a problem with that. You take your phone out and look at it, not because you have anything that you're expecting, but more as a habitual awkwardness breaker. You're not overthinking this Dave coming or not coming out to coffee thing with you. You're a perfectly normal, casual guy who can extend an offer like that and not overthink every part of it the moment it's rejected. That's definitely you. Oh, hey, you have an email. You read a few lines into it and gasp in shock. Dave, you say urgently. Karkat, he replies coolly. Shut up, you unfunny dick. This is important, you snap at him as you scroll through the email. Man, you're so rude. Why do I talk to you? Dave complains. I wonder that. Solix agrees from across the table. Fuck both of you, you tell them, ignoring June's childish outburst of giggles at that statement. We can talk about your terrible judge of character later. Dave, read this. Read this, you insist, and lean against the table next to him and show him your phone and the email displayed there. Oh, wow, Dave says as he reads. Until further notice, Xenobiology 101 is cancelled and no longer a required course for the entry students of Salem University. We will contact you when we have more courses to offer you now that it is no longer an entry requirement. Other teachers will be making their courses entirely available a semester early, and we anticipate these will be scheduled over the next few weeks. When this is available, you can select a new course to take in this block so your graduation is in no way delayed, you read out. They're offering us a replacement that doesn't affect our course credits, so the university can't be accused of damaging us by making us study for longer. This is a legal concession, Dave notes. We will run a new xenobiology course in the future. However, in the meantime, we will upload approved study materials on the subject on the student portal as soon as we are able to. You go on. As soon as the demon lawyers approve it, Dave translates. In addition, Professor Xenophobic Fuckface will no longer be teaching at the university, you say, editing the man's name because why should you bother to say it? Red glare is good. Solix smiles. It's a slightly weak smile, but it's genuine. To get the university to roll over like that in such a short amount of time is crazy. I'm in awe. That was a really good call to get her involved. I mean, she ended this man's whole career, but that's entirely on him, so I'm not sympathetic, you say. I'll have to ask her exactly how that went down. I bet it was entertaining to watch, Solix grins. Yeah, you nod and think for a moment or two, and then look back up at Solix. You did a really good thing, you know that? Demons live up here now, whether people like it or not, and it's not right for people to act like that isn't okay. Excuse me. Even if every other part of this course had been perfectly fine, it wasn't right for him to do that. You made things better here, you know that? That's really good. So many students are going to go without those lies in their head. Ugh, don't ruin this for me. I hate when you get all kumbaya about all this shit. Solix complains and goes face down on the desk again. You've never had a conversation about anything like this before. Not that you remember anyway. You must be talking about before you lost your memory. There was a time when he did something nice and you appreciated it vocally. I don't remember whatever thing you're referring to, you say slowly, and Solix tenses. But no doubt you'll do something like this again at some point, and then when I approve of it, you can call me on it. You don't remember this nebulous past that you share with him, and the two of you don't always get on, or even always seem to like each other, but you do respect the guy. You have no plans to go anywhere either, so he'll just have to settle for you making new memories of you irritating him by saying nice things, or making him laugh by insulting him. Or both. See you tomorrow, you say to Dave. Yeah, catch you later at breakfast and we'll all head to class, Dave says cheerfully. Later, June. You nod to her as you go. June nods but doesn't wave as you leave. She's too busy trying to delicately move a glass flask with those tong things. You don't say goodbye to Solix, and he doesn't move from his place face down on the table. At the very least, you think the conversation about Red Glare's lawsuit distracted him from his ex-girlfriend for a bit. You go back to your dorm and spend a good part of the evening stressing over the spell for your test tomorrow. Rose lets you see hers, and you're reassured that there's only minor differences between your spells. Rose tethered her spell to the oppressive darkness of the deepest ocean and the hidden things that live within it, which, given her previous deity, makes sense. After you spend all your evening reading a novel on the end of the sofa, as Rose knits on the other end, in the background the TV plays the news quietly. Progress on the investigation of swaths of statue destructions. In other news, the Japanese government is issuing its first ever permit for an archaeological, the TV rumbles. Without meaning this in any way offensively, I feel vaguely like I've gotten into a faux marriage and retired to quietly doing crafts on the sofa as my husband reads books silently, Rose announces without any lead-in. This is a very detailed and specific feeling, you note calmly and consider her words. Am I your beard in this imaginary retired marriage? Do you have a secret imaginary girlfriend in this scenario? You ask, lowering your book. I wouldn't keep her a secret from you, my dear husband, Rose assures you. I appreciate your openness in our fake marriage, you nod and pick your book back up. Rose continues knitting for a while as the TV goes on about the upcoming dig into what promises to be an ancient magic site. How did you know you were gay? You ask Rose after a minute. In reality, or in our theoretical retired married couple reality, Rose asks and starts a new row on her scarf. Are there different answers between those two? You ask her. Rose seems to contemplate this. I suppose not, she says. You rest your book on your chest and she pauses in her knitting. I suppose it was just that
I was always a bit confused when the women in the movies I saw fell for her male heroes, who very often weren't likable. I always wanted the girl to date her best friend in the romance movies, Rose explains. To be fair, they're often a much better match, you agree? Right. Thank you, Rose says in exasperation. So, does your mom know? You ask curiously. You don't have parents, so the idea of having to tell or not tell them something is a little alien to you. Yes, but I don't suppose I was especially subtle about it as a child. As I said, I think I always knew, which doesn't make a very fascinating coming out story. What about you, Carcat? Rose asks. I don't know. I've spent too much time angsting about what species I am to worry about who I'm into. I think I just like people. You shrug. Well, perhaps in our hypothetical, retired fake marriage, you have a boyfriend and I'm your beard as well, Rose muses. I'm glad it's so mutually beneficial, you agree and pick your book back up. Rose returns to knitting. In the morning, you and your theoretical fake wife Rose go down. I love this bit so much. In the morning, you and your theoretical fake wife Rose go down and have breakfast before your test, and find Jade already there, poring over her spell with a spoonful of fruit yogurt frozen halfway to her mouth, seemingly forgotten. Morning, Jade, you greet her as you set your own plate down. Hi, Carcat. Are you nervous about the test? Jade asks you brightly. Am I nervous that I got it wrong and I'm going to get literally burned? Yes, massively nervous, you say. Not only do you have to fear failure, but also actual injury. To be fair, there's going to be a certain amount of safeguards in place, just for the sake of not maiming students permanently, Rose says with a slightly dismissive shrug. I don't like the word permanently in that sentence. It suggests that temporarily is still on the table, you tell her. Rose just smiles behind her coffee cup. Yeah, you are less and less reassured by the moment. The rest of your friends arrive just in time to grab food to eat on the way to class. For once, it's not held within the lecture theater, but rather outside within a large engraved stone circle. When everyone is there, the teacher fills the grooves of the circle with water and waves her hand, muttering under her breath. A glimmering blue field of light shifts around the circle borders, and it reminds you of a cage in the restricted section of the library. This is to keep things in. In the center of the circle, your teacher stands with a large standing brazier of fire burning at about waist height. You will all have 10 minutes to inscribe your spells accurately on your arms. Whichever one you prefer is fine. After 10 minutes, I will call you up individually, inspect your spell, and if it is within acceptable limits, you may proceed. I'll give you more instructions when you've all got your spells written down. Mr. Captor, if you will come up here, please. You'll be writing yours on my arm, your teacher calls out to your class. Solux wanders over to your teacher with a wave of his hand. His spell writes itself out on her arm. Oh, that was quicker than I thought. Fair enough, let me see what you have here. An interesting way of dealing with the problem, your teacher muses. You sit down on the stone with a Sharpie in hand and carefully copy your spell out neatly onto your forearm, wrapping the circle of it around your arm entirely. Your nerves are jangling, not helped by the way that your fellow students are all a bit nervous too. This is your first real test that matters, and none of you want to fail. Your skin breaks out into an anxious cold sweat. It makes it worse, and to make matters worse, your arm starts to itch. You don't think the ink of the Sharpie agrees with your skin all that well. 10 minutes pass distressingly quickly, and you scratch at your arm as you watch your teacher start to talk again. This is how this will work. For those of you who aren't demons, you will come up when I call your name out. In this case, I will use Mr. Captor's spell here as a demonstration. I will inspect the spell and see that it won't cause any terrible backfiring. I've read this one and it's fine. Solix will now activate the spell by thinking of his tether and mentally feeling for the magic. I'm afraid there's no better way to explain how to do that, but once you know what the feeling is like, you shouldn't have a problem. In this case, as it is your spell and not mine, would you mind activating it, please? Your teacher now looks at Solux. Solux reaches out and holds his hand towards her arm. The colors of the spell flare up in red and blue. Now that the spell is active, I will stick my hand into the fire. If I were to suffer any negative consequences, this pool of water here will erase the written magic and heal any burn, she explains, gesturing to a vat of liquid next to the brazier. So Rose was right. You can temporarily burn yourself because they're proving an immediate way of negating the damage. It really is trial by fire. Before your eyes, the teacher sticks her hand in the fire and it seems to disappear into the flame itself. You can't see her hand in there at all. She pulls back and her arm isn't on fire. It is fire. Solix snaps his finger and her hand returns to normal. Very creative. Fire doesn't burn fire, so you trick the fire into perceiving me as more fire. Thus, I don't burn. Very good. Pass. Please take a seat. Your teacher nods, and Solix walks back to your group and sits next to Dave. Other students are called up to the front to face their own tests one by one. A few people fail for extinguishing the fire instead of fireproofing themselves. A couple don't even have to test, or don't even get to test their spells, but most people pass just fine. It's interesting seeing how different people have their magic present. When Dave goes up, his arm leaves a trail of after images behind it, and Rose's skin looks slick and darkened as she holds it fearlessly in the fire. June and Jade pass easily, but your nerves are completely shaken when one student puts his arm in only to scream and yank it back, shoving it right into the healing water. Tears stream down his face and his body trembles, yet when he draws his arm out, it's perfectly fine. Your teacher talks to him quietly for a moment, and then he sits down, having failed the test. You scratch at the ink on your arm, your nails dragging over your skin without relief. You jolt when your name is called, and you hurry up to the front. Up close, you can smell the coal fueling the fire and feel the heat of it on your cheeks. Your stomach is in knots, and all you can do not to shake too badly when your teacher asks to see your arm. She starts looking at the red scratches on your skin. I think I'm allergic to the red ink, you mumble awkwardly. It's almost hard to tell what's you're scratching and what's the ink. Okay, you can proceed, she tells you. You think of the storm the other night, the way the rain beat on the windows and how strong the gales of the wind were. You cling tight to that thought and run the spell through your mind. You never cast anything before. You don't know how to make it do anything. You don't know if anything has happened, and you swear you can feel all the eyes of everyone in the room, or of every other student on you. This is the moment where it's revealed that you don't have any real magic, and it was all a mistake and you have to go home. However, the magic on your arm works. It's not doing what it's supposed to, it's not catching or turning on, but like you felt with the teleportation spells you've been transported by. There was a moment with those, an engine turning on and the magic beginning to flow, but that's not happening. You focus your eyes on the fire and your hand before it. There's no way you can... What are you afraid of? Without thinking, you move your arm forward into the flames, and like a polite pedestrian on the street, the fire parts for you. You move your hand around, almost in a trance, and the fire slides away and springs up again around your hand. It can't hurt you. When has it ever? That's not... Karkat, give me your arm, your teacher says, shaking you out of your daze. Almost robotically you do, as she says, and you hand your arm to her. She stares down at your forearm. You scratched your skin and broke the circle. That's why the spell didn't activate. It's not supposed to do that. How are you doing that? Mr. Captor, come here, please, your teacher says, looking behind you. You turn and see Solix walking over with a frown of concentration on his face. Do you want me to stick my arm in the fire? Solix asks before she can ask him anything. Please. Your teacher nods. Solix does just that. The fire doesn't move for him. It flows harmlessly over his skin like air. It's not the same as what just happened with you. I don't understand what... Do you know what he is? Your teacher asks Solix, who sighs. I can't tell you anything about that or answer any questions now that you are obviously fishing for answers around that, Solix says with a shake of his head. You think if she'd asked her question with a little more care, she could have gotten more information out of him, and to your eye, Solix looks just as frustrated about not being able to say more. I'm not fireproof like you mumble as you think it through. You put your arm towards the fire again, and it bends out of the way. Go to the base of the fire, see what it does then, your teacher suggests. You lean in closer and put your whole arm in the fire, your hand touching the coals. They feel warm, or rather, you're aware that they're hot, but as much as you're aware of their color, it's just a thing you know. A kind of hazy feeling settles over you again, and you feel your fingers brush something that feels bright. A fizzing spark of something. It feels bright and familiar. You close your fingers around it, and the whole fire abruptly snuffs out. Raising your hand to your face, you stare, and at the spark at your hand. You can feel it, like a chain stretching back through time, back and back and back, to when the first fire came to Earth, a stolen spark of something. Static fills your head, and the world starts to tilt. A hand slaps at your wrist, and you drop the spark. The fire bursts back to life in the brazier. Your fall to the ground is slowed, thanks to a fist in your shirt. And that's the end of the chapter! We get a little cliffhanger! Oh my god. Oh my god. Woo! What a guy. Oh my god, he can grab fire. Is he immune? What is he? What is he? What is he? Oh, I love looking at the theories in the comments. Does anybody have people who don't know, does anybody have theories on what Karkat is? People who know can't answer. You're not allowed to answer if you know. I have no clue. Special fireproof demon. Karkat is obviously a Vantus. I'm so upset I can't guess because I know. I know, but I think he's a silly little guy. So true, he is a silly little guy. Oh my god. He's so silly. Like maybe the main demon? I have no idea. Don't got no idea. It's okay, Lunar. So we've confirmed that, I mean, he makes loud, he can be very loud. He can grab fire. What else has he done so far? I mean, he's seen, like, the weird thing with Arati and Solux. Like, he was able to look into that. I'm trying to think of other things that he's done up to this point. That's, like, strange. People seem to know him. Like, fuck, I mean... Alright. Anyways, well... We gotta get a little bit further in before we can keep speculating. But yeah. So next chapter will be next chapter will... There's more hints with his general behavior, but that's all stuff that makes more sense knowing what he actually is, so I can't find out. True, yeah, I'm thinking about it. So we will be doing chapter 6. Not tomorrow, so I'm not doing this on weekends, and that includes Friday. So the next chapter we will be reading on Monday, so on the 13th, and we will read chapter 6. So none on the weekends, which means, yeah, I mean, that's what it means, is that I'm not reading on weekends, because I have work to get done, and yeah. I won't be able to do weekends, so that works out. I'll miss Monday because of work, but I'll catch the VOD. You're gonna leave me on Gat Cliffhanger? Boo. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna leave you there. A fellow 3-day weekender. Yeah, I technically have class tomorrow, and I have it in the morning, but, it's an online class, so I'm fine with it. But, yeah, 3-day weekender. Excuse me, oh my goodness. I'm so sorry for the burps that I have without warning. You just gotta expect that from me. But yeah, okay. That is all. I kind of want to keep streaming. I kind of want to do some doodling. No, I should probably go to bed. Oh, Legends of Vox Machina is in like 2 hours, isn't it? Oh, the new episodes are gonna come out tonight. Is this the last episodes for this season? Are those tonight? Yeah, we don't have that many clues, to be fair. Yeah. Are they already out? Wait. They're out. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, they're already out. Oh, I'm gonna watch these. Oh, okay. I'm gonna dip from stream and go watch these because this is so important to me. If you guys aren't watching Legends of Vox Machina, you should be. Season 2 is so fucking good. Season 1 was pretty good. Season 2 has been excellent. Like, I think that the first 3 episodes of Season 1 are the weakest. But these ones, oh my god. Anyways, alright. Hope you guys all have a very, very lovely night. And I will see you all on Monday. Unless I stream sometime this weekend, just, like, doing whatever the fuck. But the next story time will be Monday. So yeah. So I'll see you all later. Have a lovely rest of your night. Goodbye, good night. Mwah.